happen the next play or something? You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I saw that post. Oh,
It's
yeah.
awesome. It's so much fun.
Anyway, we're talking baseball, everybody. Hey, happy Wednesday. Glad to have you here. Hashtag Scotty G and Mike, getting ready for the Monday show. This is going to be a good one because Scott put a lot of thought into planning this trip.
Lots of thoughts.
I mean, hours and hours of thought into going to Walt Disney World last. Did you go down Friday? Yeah.
Went down Friday. Yep.
Today, Wednesday?
Friday the 15th or something?
Yeah, crazy. Like 5 days ago. And yeah, that's nuts.
Was it Friday the 15th? What day? It couldn't have been the 15th. It was the 15th.
Yeah,
holy smokes.
Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, so we're talking what's called Stratomatic? Stratomatic baseball. I am all about this. I can't wait to play.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they're out of like New York, like the guy who created it. I hear their like headquarters is really cool. I mean, it's basically like a house, but
I can see that. Some of the games like that are best, like when somebody, because like there's super fans that made that. You know what I'm saying? Like, casual like game company.
Dude, this used to be my geekiness before Disney. All right, like there were there's obviously message boards, so people will like post their replays and recaps of all their games, and like I tried to find my 2006 replay. So I don't know if you remember the 06 season at all. So me and my brother did this. The Astros won when we did this. The Astros were terrible in 06. Like I don't know how they won, but
I guess it's just it's all probability, though, right? I mean,
it's a lot of luck.
Like you sneak through. Yeah.
And then there's some like what we call freak cards. So say if a guy had like 80 at bats, like he really wasn't a big time player on the team. He might have had 80 at bats and like 4 home runs. So he might have like a lot of home runs like available to him on his card because the probability is pretty high.
Yeah.
And so we try to.
That'd be Tom.
I mean, we still use those guys, even though like they didn't play like a full season, So that could be an advantage. I think the Astros had one of those guys in 06.
Oh my God. Yes. So we are going to be playing Stratomatic at Walt Disney World next trip.
Could you imagine like taking this on the cruise line?
Remember we did that fantasy?
Yeah, we did
the fantasy like all-time draft or something.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Simulation. That was kind of fun.
Yeah. See, this time though, we get to play the games.
Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah, because the guy that was hosting, I can't remember. Was that the one on the fantasy?
No. Well, it wasn't on the fantasy. It wasn't hashtag Tony from Spain.
No,
it was a different guy.
Was
it Dino?
Really know baseball. It was Dino. Yeah, it was. Dino. Okay, we're gonna talk Disney. Promise. We're gonna talk baseball. All right. Just for Monday, 1839. 1839. That's when Mizzou was founded. Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 1839 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you and MIZ for today's episode because we're talking 1839, and that is the year that our beloved Mizzou was founded. You see 1839 all over campus. And if you want to buy a Mizzou jersey in the bookstore, the jersey number you will find the most common, just a little trivia for you, is always number 39 for the year the university started. So, when I was first getting into Mizzou, I'm like, wait, who's 39? Like, that's such a random number. I want like 10 or 12, the quarterback that year, and it was always 39, but it's because of the founding of Mizzou. So shout out to our friends out in Columbia, where my oldest is working with the basketball team. Shout out Paige. All right, today we're going to have some fun talking Disney. It's going to be a great one. First of all, he's your friend. He's my friend. He's hashtag Scotty G, but we have a great trip to talk about because this one's going to be a unique one. What's up, Scotty? How's the mitten?
Hey, the mitten is really cold right now. I just let the dog out and it was like -16, not negative. Whoa, not that cold. But it was about 16 degrees real feel. And it just felt cold after being in Florida too. So that was a smack to the face.
Well, so you guys have some snow up there. I mean, you sent me a picture earlier today as we're recording. I mean, you know what? I mean, if you got to be cold, you may as well have some snow. I mean, it's kind of probably fun to come home from Florida and see some snow on the ground.
Yeah, and plus we're really not going anywhere. So I don't have to travel. I don't have to like leave to go to work or anything. But I was thinking about 1839. I thought you were going to say the cost of the jerseys are always 1839. I was like, dang, that can't be right. That would be sweet though.
Nothing. Well, I mean, because you live in a college town yourself. I mean, anything in that bookstore is outrageously priced. Like I go through the bookstore and I'll be like, not getting it here. I'm going to go on, whatever,
It's all that dry fit, like Nike stuff. That's like $85 just for like a t-shirt.
It's exactly, and that's one of the advantages to having a daughter that's on staff with Mizzou Athletics. I'm like, Paige, when it's gear day, I wear an extra large. Grab me something. And she has this year. So yeah, that's helped a lot. And I'll keep this stuff for years because I think this is her last year on staff. All right. Anyway, we're going to talk Disney. So of course, everybody knows you, DVC member, you go down a lot. A lot's not that's kind of not even accurate. Probably more than that. So tell us, so you went down this past weekend over the MLK holiday weekend, but you didn't have this one on the books for long. So kind of give us the backstory on how this trip came together. 'Cause I don't even know. All of a sudden you're just like, I'm eating breakfast. You're like, guess what I just did? And I'm like, Pam was sitting across from me. I'm like, not to send a message that guess what I just did with no other details. Because I hadn't you hadn't sent the picture yet. I was like, I don't know what he did, but we're about to find out. And this is what happened. So what's
Don't you just love it when I do that to you? Like the anticipation. Like I should leave you hanging for a while, like 20 minutes before I respond.
You did for a few minutes. Yes.
Yeah. So we went down January 15th for Martin Luther King weekend, which that before I ran the marathon, Mike, that used to be our weekend to go. Because I wasn't doing the races. So, and Emily, my daughter, had a lot of time off of school for some reason. Like her school would be shut down that week. It was kind of random. So that was always a perfect week to go. So I have some experience going that weekend, but it was January 15th on Friday. We went down, and the Thursday before, I was having lunch and I was talking to my wife, and she was like, yeah, I put in for tomorrow. And my mom asked me like if we were going to go somewhere because Michigan is kind of still on the lockdown. Like you can't go to a restaurant. So she was saying like, yeah, maybe we should go to like drive to Indiana or Ohio and like go to a restaurant. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea, but maybe we should just fly to Florida and go to a Disney restaurant instead.
I mean, see how this all evolves, everybody. It's like going out to dinner and it turns into a weekend at Walt Disney World. I'm just saying, right?
I know. So she kind of like rolled her eyes at me, and I was like, I'm gonna go and look at airfare. So I looked at airfare, and it was actually, it was more than I would normally pay, but for being like 16 hours before the flight, it actually wasn't too bad, Mike. So all these pieces just happened so quick. I was like, all right, I'm going to book the airfare. I was like, well, maybe I should look at room availability first. As you mentioned, we're DVC owners. At this point, that was probably going to be the best and most cost efficient way, was just booking on points. Old Key West is our home. It's also usually the cheapest room points wise for a studio. So I looked there first. Boom, they had it available. And then I didn't even talk to Elizabeth. I just made the executive decision right then to book it before it went away.
You're like, I'm going now. If Elizabeth and Emily are going, I'm not positive yet, but I'll see you on Monday.
Yep. So exactly. So I think, and I was like working, like I had to go to like this meeting with like some auditors from our work. So I had to like kind of present, and like, here I am thinking like, I just want this to be over with so I can finalize this booking. So I think it was finally around 1:00 Eastern time is when I booked it, and the flight was for 7 a.m. the next morning.
That is crazy. And you mentioned Old Key West is your home, which it's been your home at least in 2020, 2021, almost literally. Like you have literally worked from Old Key West, the work from home thing. And, I don't know, did you have to work on Friday or Monday, or was this literally vacation? You got
so Elizabeth took the day off, and I decided I'm going to take it off too. Our PTO just got replenished for the year, so yeah. Like, oh, let's take advantage of that. So I didn't bring the laptop, it was kind of nice going through security the next morning and not having to like take my laptop out and like all that, all the technology that you normally have to take out during security. My backpack basically just had some earbuds in it. I don't even know why I brought it, to be honest.
That's awesome. So, okay. Again, I think everybody dreams of doing this, right? Like, you know what? I got a weekend with nothing. Don't think I didn't think about coming to right now. We just don't have the money, but Mallory and Pam were in Indiana for a cheerleading competition the entire weekend. They got back late, like 1:00 in the morning Sunday night, and I was like, dude, I should just go down to Florida.
Dude, I was gonna push you really hard because you have an annual pass. You could have been in our room in Old Key West.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't push you hard is because I assumed you were probably dog watching that weekend. Like, I don't know.
No, and Riley's out at Mizzou. I had nothing. I know. It was so boring here, and I should have come down, but yeah.
You really should have.
I was getting work done. It's busy. January's busiest month in travel because like you said, everybody gets their PTO upped, and so that's good. But not fine. I was jealous, but hey, I got to see pictures and hear what you were doing. So okay, Old Key West, you booked the studio last minute. I mean, was there anything you did different? I mean, you guys go so much, it's not like an unknown. You know exactly what you're getting into. You know exactly how long it'll probably take at the airport in Detroit and so forth. But any advice you have, like on the planning front, when you're just going to go down tomorrow? You know, like it's today, we're going to go tomorrow. What give it? Is there anything you would have done differently?
So it's hard to plan for that, especially if you are someone that likes to, you know, us, Mike, we like the table service restaurants. We like to have at least a table service for dinner. And when you're booking like that last minute, it's like, oh, like might not be able to go to some of our favorites, but you know what? That opens opportunities to try some new things, right? Maybe not have a table service for dinner. Let's go to Disney Springs and try something down there, you know? So that actually was kind of new and exciting for me. Like, let's not plan. Let's not have any ADRs. Obviously, you can't do fast passes right now either. So we went down there just with a room reservation, basically, and just figured it out from there and just improvised. I mean, I had to make park reservations too. So we knew, like with Festival of Arts, you know, that's our favorite festival. So we knew we wanted to go to Epcot. Obviously, got to go to Magic Kingdom. And then the studios is where it's at these days too. So we kind of figured out those will be the 3 parks we go to. But what we were going to do at all of them, like we had no idea, no planning at all.
So do you have any issues like getting down this time of year, because January and you know the north can be sketch, but it sounds like the weather was fine to fly down. You got there and everything was good.
Holy smokes, man. I didn't even look at the Michigan weather. I just like looked at Florida weather to know if I had to pack shorts or jeans, basically, which it was kind of chilly, which I kind of like because we're there all the time in the summer when it's hot. So that was kind of a nice change of pace. But I didn't look at Michigan weather. And we landed, I get the rental car, and my boss sends me a text like, look what you're missing right now. And it was like a blizzard. Like we just beat the snow.
So lucky. You're so lucky.
I know. I really am.
Yeah, because when you live in the north, I mean, even in St. Louis, marathon weekend used to freak me out because, you know, because you had the races, right? And we always signed up for Dopey, and these races are like $500. And I mean, if you miss the start, you miss the whole thing. I mean, they're not going to hold the race unless you're on a Disney transportation bus last time. Then they might hold it for like a half hour. But I'm just saying, like, you know, like I'm always scared I'm going to get snowed in. You got to kind of make that call. Like, okay, well, if it's going to be snowy, I might have to drive, you know, 2 days early or something. So you dodged a bullet there, it sounds like.
You're absolutely right, because I would have been crushed if we're talking 3 nights, right? Like if my first night is like I'm stuck at the airport, which, you know, has happened to us before. Going down for like a wine and dine, I think like we were delayed one year is when a terrible team from Chicago won the World Series that night. But anyway, but yeah, so the weather plays a big role, and we got lucky there for sure. We got lucky on the way back too. It was kind of snowing when we landed, but it wasn't enough to, you know, delay a flight or anything, which would have been terrible because, as I said earlier, I didn't even bring my work stuff. So if we would have been trapped down there, I wouldn't have had any of my work equipment.
You are rolling the dice like you just speaking of Statomatic, where you play this game where you're rolling die. I mean, you're rolling die left and right here with this trip. Not taking my laptop. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what makes it's what Emily think though. I mean, when you told her like, "Hey, pack your stuff, we're going." I mean, was she like pumped or what?
You would think this girl would still be pumped. I mean, I'm pumped all the time going to Disney, and she just kind of said like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Do I not have to go to school tomorrow?"
That's your daughter though.
Yeah, I know. Her biggest thing was like, "Oh, I don't have to go to Spanish tomorrow."
Yes. Yeah, or teach. I'll be remotely learning in the South.
but Mike, when you talk about luck, man, we really did get lucky. You know, like I was lucky to find airfare that last minute. I was lucky to find a stay at our favorite resort on points, at cheap points too. Like they were pretty low for that time of year. And then we beat the snowstorm that came in. And when we landed, this is a rare thing, especially for DVC members, the room was ready.
That's to me. I was like, you're like, that never happens with DVC.
It never happens with DVC. I'm lucky if I get in by 5 o'clock, you know. So we were able to just go there and like drop. Well, we didn't have much luggage. We were only there for 3 nights. So it was nice to actually drop stuff off. And we like to like change our masks from the day of traveling, you know, like you're in the airport for a couple hours, you're in the airplane for a while. Like I like to change those clothes, you know, and get out of that mask if I can as soon as possible. So that was a huge benefit for us.
All right. So one last thing, and then we'll get into all the stuff, because I want to know like what it was, because I haven't been down over MLK weekend probably in 10 years, probably in a decade or more. But I've mentioned many times, you always rent the mystery car. Now, I don't know if you did that deal this time, but Erin's asking about that. She wants to hear about this mystery car option, because I know you've done it in the past. It's typically a minivan, but how's that all work out?
Yeah. We did the mystery car again. And so we used to do it through Alamo, which like you could book like your certain sizes, or you could just do the straight up mystery vehicle. We always call it the mystery machine, like Scooby-Doo, because I always was a minivan.
Yeah, it is.
But this time we used National, which is still kind of owned all by the same company, but they have like their executive aisle or like their emerald aisle, things like that. So it's kind of like the mystery car. You have like a certain row that you're going to shop in, basically, but you don't know exactly what's going to be available and whatnot. When we were there over Thanksgiving, we had to wait like 35, 40 minutes for a car. I mean, it was so packed. The line just went out to like the escalator, if anyone can visualize that at MCO. And so I was kind of worried about that because, I don't think they have as many cars available right now. I don't really know what the deal is, why that happened. But boom, nope, we got right in there. And we actually got to test drive a vehicle we've been wanting to purchase. So that worked out really good too.
Everything was coming up gold for you guys.
Dude, it was like the luckiest weekend ever. So we own a GMC Acadia, and we've been thinking about for like a second car, like the step down from that, like the smaller vehicle. And they had one available. So we just picked that right off the lot. It had 702 miles on it, Mike, when we got it. It was like brand spanking new.
Dang, nice. Yeah, I haven't even talked to you about this, but like in 2 minutes or less, what do you think about the Magical Express announcement for next year?
It's kind of a bummer.
Speaking of rental cars, I like it. I mean, I wish they would just charge for it. Like if you want it, pay $50,
Yep.
They're taking it away.
Yep. So, we used to take the Magical Express a ton, and then we started renting cars, and then we've rented a lot of cars this year on our trips just because of COVID. I use Disney transportation. I hop on the monorail. I use their boats, and I have nothing against the buses. I just feel a little more comfortable in my car is all, So we haven't been using Magical Express at all this year, but I think it's very helpful. I think it's helpful for those with like wheelchair, like accessible issues. Like I think that's a huge benefit, having Magical Express. So I'm really bummed about it. For my purposes, I'm really bummed about the resort airline check-in. Like that's the best part of
yeah, it is. There's certain aspects, and I was talking, I think it was on the call-in show Sunday night or something, but I mean, when you talk about stuff that's because we talk about Disney, stuff's magical. It's not magical, there's logistics, it's people doing things. But when you drop your bag off at your home, when I drop my bag off in St. Louis at the Southwest counter and it shows up in my hotel room, I don't have to think about it. I mean, that's kind of magical. And like you said, on the back side, the day you're checking out, you just run your bags down to the front of the hotel, and then you don't have to mess with them until you're back home. You put them in your car. I mean, that's
the backside is my favorite, man. Especially if you book like a later flight or mid-afternoon flight. You wake up, you go for your walk or your run in the morning, shower up, pack up. If you're smart, you packed up the night before, but we rarely do that. We always say we're going to. And then you just drop it off, you get your luggage tags, and you don't see it till you're in Detroit. That is magic to me, man. You take the bus and then you just get dropped off, and then you don't have to worry about lugging like all these checked bags. Oh man, I miss that so much. I really do.
And like Rob's saying in the live chat, he's like, you can still add on ground transfers with Mears, and that's what Mears was Magical Express. I mean, I get that, but we're Disney fans, right? I mean, we don't want to call it a resort.
I don't want to call it Mears. I want to call it Magical Express.
No, it's like a blue, but it's a buzz with Mickey on it. I get it. I mean, under the skin, it's Mears and everything. He's exactly right. Okay, so let's talk about the weekend though, because you sent the first picture in response, or like a little video in response to the Bench Guy show on Friday, which awesome benches. We love that. And I didn't even realize it until one of the listeners commented on the video, like, there's nobody around. I went back and looked. I'm like, oh my God, you are like by yourself in Epcot. Now, MLK and President's weekends are typically nutty. So tell us about crowds. What did you see crowd-wise from the time you got there till the time you left?
So, we went straight to Epcot after we, got changed and all that stuff, because Festival of Arts, I got to check that out. Plus, I'm going to see the fountain. Like, I was So I was trying to think, like, what new things can we do this trip? Like, Festival of Arts isn't new, but it's always fun, and there's new, like sidewalk paintings and things like that. Yeah, so we get to Epcot, and I'm looking at Elizabeth like, this doesn't feel very crowded. Like this is a Friday holiday weekend. Like I know locals are probably like maybe still at work, and maybe they're going to come later tonight, but it did not feel busy. And you saw it in that video. That was kind of over by like those shops in the middle, like that divide up like Future World and World Showcase. I'm trying to think what they're called, like the port shops. Yeah, port of entry shops. So I was just sitting on a bench over there, and you're right. Like after I saw that video again, I'm like, dang, like there's no one, there's no one around me.
I didn't realize either. Somebody's like, there's nobody there, and I look back, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like this is a holiday weekend. Sums up, and he's at Epcot doing the festival.
Yep. Yeah, so so we hung out at the festival, and I'll talk about crowds here in a second. But we did a couple things. I sent you a photo of the chips and guac in Mexico. That's one of our favorite places. So we just kind of toured around. We waited for a friend, Beth. Beth is a local. She came over, left work early, and then that's when I started thinking like, oh, maybe a lot of people are going to start doing this now. Maybe they're going to leave a little early, then the crowds will pick up. So we toured Epcot around. We did the paint by number thing which is kind of interesting doing that social distanced. They kind of have sections kind of like blocked off so that like a groups of two will go at a time. But then the section next to it wouldn't have anyone in there. It's kind of strategic so that
That's good.
I'm glad you can still do it because that's really cool. The painting of the picture. So we did that for a little bit, but then this goes into like the ADR issue and not planning. Like we couldn't find anywhere to eat that night. Like we're looking at Epcot, we're looking at Disney Springs. There's nothing available except for like a boat house at like 10:30 at night. Like, and I've been up. I got 3 hours of sleep. I've been up since 3 a.m. Like we're not doing that. So we decided to go to Disney Springs to maybe go to Polite Pig because that's one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
And we get to Disney Springs and boom, there were the crowds.
I bet though. Yeah, I bet because the Friday night.
It was so crazy, but luckily we got right into Polite Pig though. It's like after we left Polite Pig is when we were walking around is when we noticed it. But speaking of new things, I don't know if you heard, but there's a new donut shop that opened at Disney Springs.
The picture of that like glazing machine. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that? I need to own one of those glazing machines.
Okay, so but they have they're like Voodoo Donuts at Universal. Like we have a place in St. Louis called Strange Donuts. I mean, it's just all the over the top kind of stuff. So what was it like? I mean, most of us haven't been there.
Yeah, so I will say I'm not into like the over the top donuts. I just want like an old fashioned glazed donut. It's basically like how I roll. We have a great bakery. I know you have QT. We have QD here in Lansing, Quality Dairy, and they make like the best donuts ever. So I don't get all into the craziness, but we wanted to try it out, right? Because it's new. And they were doing a virtual queue. It was kind of raining that night. And I'm like looking at the crowds, like Gideon's was already way beyond their virtual queue slot. So we're like, dang, like we're not going to be able to get in. But to our surprise, it was only a 20-minute wait to get in their queue. So we did that. We ordered a half a dozen. We had to order like crazy ones. We did like a traditional glaze, but we had like a Fruity Pebbles, a peanut butter explosion. Beth got like this maple bacon one. Like, I mean, they sounded good. And I was like, so full at the Polite Pig. I'm like, how the heck am I going to eat one of these donuts?
Right.
But we went back to the room and like I had a bite of each. Basically, we did like a tasting.
That's the way to go. Especially when you're saying like, oh, I mean, this could be in any hotel room. Go to Disney Springs, just take those donuts back to the room, and you could snack on them at night. You could have them for breakfast the next day, even over the next couple days. They don't really go bad quickly.
That's what we did. That was my first breakfast the next day. But so it was good. And I think there's a discount when you bought 6 of them. Like they knocked off like $3 if you did a half a dozen. And then there was actually an AP discount too. So it made it a little more reasonable. One thing I'll say though is that like I'm not much of a Universal person. We've been there once, but I know like with their City Walk, like you go through City Walk to get to the parks, kind of like what Disneyland is. And that kind of almost makes sense with the Voodoo Donuts there. Like maybe it's like on your way to the park, you get a couple donuts for breakfast. Like that doesn't really work for Disney Springs. That's kind of out of the way. So the strategy there would be, Mike, what we were just talking about. Maybe go the night before after you're done with the parks, have dinner at Disney Springs or whatever, get some donuts and just take them to the room for the next morning for breakfast would be the way to do it.
Donuts, you could, if you buy a dozen, you could probably keep donuts for 2 or 3 mornings, right? I mean, they don't taste as great, a couple days out, but shoot, I mean, a donut called a peanut butter explosion, I'll take my chances 3 days later.
Yeah, exactly. So we got those Friday night and Sunday morning. I was still like sampling some of them. So yeah, it worked.
I've eaten other stuff than that in my life and survived, and whatever. Okay, so Polite Pig, though, I don't eat all the other stuff, but I mean, Polite Pig solid still. God, it's a great place to eat at Disney Springs.
God, it's the best counter service in my opinion. Like I just love Polite Pig, and what Elizabeth and I do, we do like the platter for 2. So it has like a sampler basically of everything. We add the turkey because Elizabeth loves like smoked turkey. It comes with like 2 coleslaws, like a couple sides, and it's like $42. Like. So like $20 each. Like that's a good value for what you're getting there. It's so filling too. It's so good.
Yeah, because barbecue is usually expensive anyway. For on the more expensive side of
something. Okay. The thing about barbecue though, it's always quick, right? Because they're always like making it. Like we ordered, we sat down, and boom, it was ready in 2 minutes.
You're killing me though, because this was pre-COVID. Like, right after Polite Pig opened, I was down there it was when we were down there for cheerleading in 2019 in April, for Mallory's cheerleading, because we're staying at the B, and so we just walked over to Disney Springs every night to eat. Dude, we waited like an hour to get our order even taken there. It was the worst. And you're saying like it was fast. You're killing me, because I mean it was worth the wait. Don't get me wrong. I love my barbecue, but God, it was so sad. So I'm glad they're getting better.
Mm-hmm. But going to the crowd, so like that was a great first day. You know, we were tired. We were so tired, and just like had to go to bed and crash but we ate some donuts beforehand. That doesn't make sense because all that sugar. But so the next day we went to Magic Kingdom. Had breakfast at the Grand Floridian Cafe. I think I may have sent you a couple photos. It was a nice blue sky that morning. Man, it just looked so gorgeous. And then we hopped over to Magic Kingdom, and boy, was it busy.
There they are. They were just waiting at the gates for the Saturday morning.
Yep, they were. We didn't really have a whole lot of goals. If people are watching the live show, they can see my awesome hat. That was one of the goals, because Disney just released these annual pass holder hats and ears, and we tried to get the ears the night before at Mouse Gears, and they're like, yeah, these sold out within the first hour. So we're like, well, all right, well, let's try them for him tomorrow. I'm sure we won't be able to find them, but sure enough, they had, I think, like 4 or 5 ears. So we were able to get 3 of them because Beth was with us. So Beth got one, Elizabeth and Emily got one. It was like scoring the jackpot, man, like hitting the lottery finding those things.
I've been there. Those things are crazy. We're trying to find that limited time stuff. And that hat's pretty cool. It's like a black, obviously most people are just listening to the audio, but it's a black baseball cap it looks like the AP magnet.
Yeah. Pretty fun. I mean, it's nothing fancy at all. Like, honestly, you could probably just buy a black cap at Target and try to find a patch of this and sew it on, but it still works, man. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so at Magic Kingdom, just kind of walking around. There you go.
I have that on too. I got my magnet on my black cap.
That's exactly what it is, though.
Nice. All right, so you go to Magic Kingdom the next morning. Crowds are building. Again, you 48 hours before, you hadn't even had this on the radar. So how do you attack that day?
Yeah, so we just kind of walked around, and just if something felt like right to go on, we did it. So I think we did like Big Thunder or something. I mean, it had it posted like 65, 70 minutes. We're like, well, if we're just going to be standing around talking or whatever, let's just hop on the line and do it. And it was like only like 25 minutes, to be honest, like because you know how they kind of raise the the wait times on some certain attractions, but. I mean, Haunted Mansion was all the way almost to like Big Thunder. Like I'm not even exaggerating. It was like to the bridge, where you're like kind of over by Splash Mountain. That's how long the Haunted Mansion line was. We're like, forget that, And that's kind of how the day was. We did the Aladdin carpets, because I love that ride. Like my family doesn't care for it too much.
You like that ride. That is a good point.
It's fun. I love it when the camel's like spitting out. And it wasn't that big because it was cold, but basically like I just had the perspective of Mike, like I could be in Michigan where it's snowing, it's cold, or I could just be hanging out at the Magic Kingdom, and I don't care like how many people are here, because I'm in my happy place, just walking around. Like it's my park, It's like, this is my park. I'm just going to sit on a bench and relax, which was funny because that's what your episode was that aired that weekend.
I mean, because how good does that sound in January, right? I mean, we did it this time of year because I mean, you're right. I mean, just get out of the house and sit on a bench and grab a drink or grab an ice cream or a brownie and sit on a bench in Florida and watch people go by from all over.
Can't see palm trees in Michigan, man, but you can there.
That's okay. So let me real quick about the weather. Now, I don't think it was really warm while you were down. I mean, it's all perspective, right? It's not as cold as Michigan, but it wasn't like 80s or 70s, was it?
No. The highs were like maybe in the mid 60s. It got really cold at night. Like when I was up in the morning, like walking and running, I mean, it was perfect for that. Let's be honest, but it was like in the like low 50s in the morning, and I'd say that was perfect for that. But if you're one that wanted to go swimming and things like that, like that's a little bit challenging. But the pools are heated, and we did it. We went to the Elizabeth and I. We did something we'd never done before. We just left Emily in the room. Like, I mean, she's 13. Like she knows her way around. Like she has a phone, she can call us if something happens. So the two of us just went to the hot tub one night, and that was awesome.
Yeah, you said that video, you guys out in the pool, you're like, ooh, a little chilly, but it's okay. I swimming in January.
And everyone wanted a hot tub, right? And like with COVID, like we're not gonna get a hot tub with another family, like so we just kind of hung out at a lounger. Like we didn't like force them out, but I'm sure they knew that we wanted to get in that hot tub. And you really shouldn't be in the hot tub for more than 20 minutes anyway. So we kind of waited them out. They left, and then Liz and I got in there for like 15, 20 minutes. It was so nice. And then the next family was up, So
you're like, oh, Elizabeth, it'd be so nice to get in that hot tub if those people would get out of there.
Exactly. And I think they're wearing Ohio State gear too. And I was just like, oh, come on, go green.
Oh, I gotta love that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of carryover from maybe like the championship football game too. Like maybe people went down for that Monday and stayed through the week because I guess you see a lot of Alabama gear when you're down there anyway, but I saw a lot of
dang straight natty champs. Go ahead.
I saw a lot of Bama and OSU gear throughout the week.
You see LSU gear anytime. I mean, I think LSU, and I love my LSU fan friends. Don't get me wrong, but I wear a lot of Mizzou stuff. This is one of those things where I shouldn't talk. People in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks. I'm just saying, I think LSU people, they only have purple and gold clothes. Like that's it. I don't think they have anything any other color. And I love them for that, man. They are passionate.
That's awesome. You want to know something funny that happened? It made me think of a couple of years ago when you and I were down there, just us for a marathon weekend. It was just you and me. We didn't have our families. Because I remember we hung out in like Tortuga Tavern area for a while that trip, and we saw like Sorcerer Trading Card, like this crazy event going on. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I had their laptop. Like it was like a trading meet. Like it was like a little Comic-Con or something in there.
Saw that again.
And you know what? They're ending that game. Did you know?
Like you couldn't walk past one of those stations without seeing like people 3 or 4 deep ready to play it. So I never really got into that. I think it's a great option to have. But I do feel for those that really got into that game because I think it's pretty cool.
That was interesting because we literally saw people with like laptops and like making trades. Like I'll give you 3 of these for that one, and people are contemplating. Okay, all right.
Yeah. It wasn't that intense, but like as we were getting up, like we're sitting outside, I looked inside and I saw some people with their binders and everything. So it looked like there was like an event that was going on.
I can't say anything because in the 80s when I collected baseball cards, dude, I had all my cards in binders by like division, like National League, American League East, American League West. Yeah, that was me. Just different things. Okay, so I want to make sure we get this on because we only got about 15 more minutes. So just talk. I mean, you know how these go. So give us some
later. So I like to talk about dining. So like we didn't make any dining plans, but one of my favorite places to go is the Boathouse. You know this. We've celebrated with a baked Alaska of finishing Dopey one year.
Yeah, you had another one of those things.
Well, we didn't have one of those, but
yeah, that thing was. We had 2 of them that night.
Yeah, but I love the Gibson burger at. We did have 2 of those.
It was Sam Forrester's birthday, so
yeah,
we got a couple for the table.
Steve always wants to order one of those.
Potatoes. I think it was awesome though. I just kept chipping away on that thing.
But I love the Boathouse. And what's interesting, so we went to the Boathouse this summer too, and like it didn't seem that busy. But now with the crowds busier, like since it's not Disney owned, I feel like they're still like cramming as many people as they can in that spot. Like, you know what I mean? Like you go to a Disney table service restaurant, like they've either moved some tables out or they closed some tables, like every table is available at the Boathouse.
Like we'll take our chances. Each table here, we're getting $200 just to get it.
Yeah. So, but on our way to the Boathouse, we're like, ooh, let's get in that Gideon's virtual queue because we had our early Boathouse. It was like 4:15 or something. Like maybe we can get in the queue for a couple hours, have dinner, do a little shopping, get in there. But so apparently that Saturday was their opening day. Like they're real, like official, like everything else was like a soft opening. So I think they were like giving like some free merchandise away, things like that. So we went up there and they're like, yeah, we sold out of our virtual queue this morning. It's an 11-hour wait, basically. I'm not kidding you. And I was like, okay, we will not be getting any cookies. Nope. Like we can get cookies somewhere else.
Yeah, I like cookies, but not that much.
It was insane how many people, because apparently they just like rope dropped Gideon's virtual queue that day. I bet you that was the busiest Disney Springs ever was at like 9 a.m.
Oh yeah. I saw the pictures that morning on social media. It was like, I don't even know what it was like. It was like Smuggler's Run or something, like when it opened, very first time Galaxy's Edge at the studios. It's nuts
for a whole bunch of chocolate chips.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. It's probably good, but I mean, I do have a limit. Like, I get the chips at Schnucks.
Exactly. I do want to try it. So as everyone knows, this is like a last minute trip. We actually have a trip planned. Like you booked us. It's not a DVC stay like coming up in a couple of weeks. So I was like, I can try it in a couple of weeks.
That's right. You'll let the fervor die down.
Yeah. But then so that night we were like, well, let's try Everglazed again. Like those donuts were good. Maybe we can re-up the supply that we have in the room.
Quantity's running low in the room. We need more donuts, pastries, please.
Yep. And this will prove you that the crowds were just progressively getting busier that weekend, because that was like an hour and a half or maybe 2 hour wait that day for Everglades when we got in for 20 minutes. So we're like, forget that.
Boy, you guys were going to starve. I'm worried about you. Now, when you went to Boathouse, though, let me ask you about this, because you said you had a really nice pic. Your like influencer game is like on fire lately. Like you took a picture at Boathouse, like of some fancy blue drink on top of a Boathouse like menu or napkin or something,
Yep.
a little rubber ducky in it. So what's that all about?
So I think they've had this drink for a little while. I just never ordered it. It's like this blue, I think it's called like the blue duck drink or something like that. Like, I don't know. But you like that picture though? It looked nice, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it's like a Hannah Forrester special or something.
It really, oh my God, it totally was.
Yeah,
I didn't have the selfie light with me though, but
exactly.
It was lighting up in the restaurant at that part of the day. But yeah, it was a good drink. I'll tell you, man, it was a strong drink. Like Elizabeth was worried about me after that. Like we're gonna have to hang out here for a while before we leave.
Oh, I got your money for it.
Yeah, no, it was good. I'll tell you what though, their mac and cheese, which I normally love at Boathouse, felt more like Velveeta or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they took out some of the flavoring or what. It just, I mean, which is still good, but
I saw the picture. It looked good. I mean, I couldn't taste it, but I was like, dude, I wish I was having some mac and cheese.
But you know what we did that night? We actually, for those that are DVC and even non-DVC members, you can always do like tours of rooms. Like you did one with us before.
Yeah,
so
dude.
We didn't do the sales pitch.
The lady's still looking for me. She's trying to waterboard me again.
I can't believe you said no to your family, Mike.
I did. I'm so terrible. No, I said no. I didn't sign the line. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't hurt me.
So they weren't doing like the major sales pitch, but it was like, hey, you can want to tour a 3-bedroom villa at Grand Floridian. And I was like, yeah, sure. I've never seen what one of those look like. And I mean, they get you with this because like it is like the most gorgeous looking room. It has like this giant table that seats 12, and I think the Packers were on, like one of the football games was on, and I commented because like right as we walked in, like there was a big touchdown. I'm like, oh man, that was a sweet play. And the salesman was like, sir, come with me and let's go to this room and watch the game. And they had like a theater room basically.
And like Aaron Rodgers comes out of the corner, like, hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Gardner.
Basically, yeah. He's like, will you sign this sheet of paper to add on more points? Yes, I will, Mr. Rodgers. Yeah, so like I love seeing those rooms. I mean, the one night in those rooms is probably worth our whole DVC contract. So we'll never do it unless if we like group points with other DVC members. Because I mean, you can sleep like 12 people. And we did another tour. We toured the Riviera the next day, their 3-bedroom, which is gorgeous as well. Oh my God, that might even be more like upscale than the Grand Floridian one. But one thing I learned, and I hope it's true, you never know when you hear what a cast member has to say about something. But we commented on, and you slept on one of these when you were with us at the Riviera, like those pull-out beds from the wall.
Super comfortable.
Yeah. And we're like, man, we love this so much more than the couch. Like seeing that like makes us want to stay at the Riviera more than like the Polynesian, because they don't have that. And Saratoga is getting them now too in their refurbished rooms. And the rep told us, like, this is the plan, like going forward. Like when we remodel a DVC resort, this is going to go into like all the rooms, and that's huge for me. Like I love those.
Yeah, that's a smart play too, because it's more efficient in the space too. And that's a win-win, because that was way more, because I've slept on those couches too, and it's way more comfortable in those convertible couches. It was nice.
And you know what we do when we stay at one of those rooms, like at the Poly is basically the one that we've stayed at them a couple times, I guess, that have that. Like we pull it out like the first day, and it never goes back in, and you have to like walk around it like constantly, like you can't get comfortable in the room. But with these, like boom, you just pull it right up, and then you have all that extra space. It's so nice.
That's right. Okay, so I want to make sure we get this. So talk to us about the studios, because the studios is a park I'd worry about the most on a weekend like MLK or President's Day, because of course it's super in demand. I mean, theme park reservations help, and the capacity restrictions are working in your favor in 2021. I mean, I know it's not a great thing, but it does here with everything capped. But I mean, did it feel like, I just think like it would feel intense, like feel crowded, but maybe not. I don't know.
It felt crowded, but it didn't feel any more crowded than when we were, you were with us in December before the Give Kids the World event. Yeah. You were there So it kind of felt like that. Like it was crowded, but I didn't feel like you were on top of everyone constantly. But I feel like that park does a pretty good job of spreading people out, even without the fast passes, because there's so many like hot items. Like you got Sunset that has 2 great attractions. You got Galaxy's Edge. You got Mickey and Minnie's like right at the middle of toy. I mean, God, you think about it, like there is so much to do at the studios.
It's crazy now, yeah, because 3-4 years ago it was like 3 things and I'm out.
I know, like you would never go to it. But yeah, so and we didn't do a whole lot. Again, like this is just a chill, like being Dave, the bench guy, just sitting on benches and relaxing all weekend. I mean, we did get a boarding pass. We actually got 28, which was like a record for us. Yeah. Like we're always like in the 60s, it seems like. So we were able to go through the queue pretty quickly, do the attraction. We were actually on a different vehicle than we normally are, so we got like a little slightly different perspective of the ride, which was awesome. Then we did Minnie and Mickey's, that's like my favorite attraction out there right now. And then we tried something new, Mike. We thought about doing this last time, but we did it this time and went to ABC commissary for lunch.
Okay, so what? Because I kind of want to go there, so I'm curious. Yeah. Was it good, bad, or indifferent? What do you think?
I would say it's indifferent. Like the girls just did grilled cheese, like kids meals, basically. And I did this like buffalo chicken dip sandwich thing, which was kind of like a grilled cheese, and I thought it was good. And it gave you like some buffalo sauce on the side to dip in. But what was really interesting, they still were selling like the whoopie pie that they sold during Christmas time.
You killed me with that. You killed me with that. I said that. That was breaking news, by the way, on the Sunday Night Live show that night. I told everybody it's still there. Now, I said they're probably left over from December. I mean, I no doubt they are, but still, you know, it's a whoopie pie.
Why not? Why not still sell them though, right? Yeah, because they weren't selling them because we always go to Starbucks at the studios. It's my favorite Starbucks, and they weren't selling them there, which I know they did at Christmas time. So I know I'm watching the live show here for those that are watching, and Joe was asking if I got the steak. I did not. I did not get the steak.
Speaking of Stratomatic or whatever, rolling the die right there with your steak.
Yeah, that would be rolling the dice right there to go with the steak at ABC commissary.
Totally. But did you guys get everything done that you wanted to get? I mean, because again, you were kind of taking it in, sitting on benches, drinking Starbucks, snacking.
Yeah.
But I mean, what did you get done? Because I mean, this was Sunday, right?
Yeah, this is Sunday. So there was one thing left on my list that I really wanted to do. There was 2 things. I really wanted to park hop because that was new, right? I mean, we haven't done that since January 1st is when you could start doing it again. So I wanted to see what the park hopping experience was like. And our good friend, we talked about her earlier, Hannah wanted for the TikTok for Magic for Less, she wanted like a little video of something at Epcot. So I was like, all right, I guess I can park hop the Epcot and get this video for Hannah.
So talk to us about the process. I mean, is it exactly the same as it you? Of course, you got to wait till 2, but what was it?
Everything else is the same. Like I didn't even tell the cast member like, hey, I'm park hopping here, FYI. I just like went up to the turnstile, put my band on it, boom, I was in. So we didn't. So I guess, there's that number you can call to check on availability and things like that. Even with a busy weekend, I didn't even think about that because we were going to Epcot, which is huge. So I figured like Epcot would have been fine to go to even on a busy weekend. So we didn't do that. We took a Skyliner over. Because we were at the studios. Yeah, we took a Skyliner over and boom, just walked right in at International Gateway. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's one of those things too. Like if you're watching social media, I guarantee you that if you're following any of the news sites, that you're going to see Epcot closed for park hopping today because of capacity. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got one number you can call, but I'm sure you would see something like that on social media.
Yeah. And then, Mike, it felt busy. So you and I have been at Epcot the busiest times, right? We've been there for New Year's Eve,
wine and dine.
The busiest I've ever been in there was like wine and dine, like 2016 or 2017. That Saturday, remember that
day? I was getting that bib. Who was it? Was that for Brian? I got it from.
It was for Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Eugene.
And also I did Eugene. Yeah. Right. One of my guests could make it. So I went and I met him over at, we were like back in America. We were back in the back of World Showcase somewhere.
We were in the back. Yeah. And then I think over like the land or something, right?
Yeah. Dude, it was like a military operation just to get from there to the land and back to World Showcase. Like seriously, like that's the last time I ran wine and dine because it was so packed that day. I couldn't take it. New Year's Eve wasn't bad.
So we went in, like Beth wanted to get some baguettes from France, and the line was ridiculous. Like it was so busy. And then we're like, well, forget that. Let's go to Japan and get a snow cone and a frozen beer. So we did that. We kind of sat where the counter service section is for God, what is that place called? I can't think of it.
I always forget it too. It's not Mitsukashi. That's the store. It's I can't remember either. People,
but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone is like screaming at us right now. I'm having that moment where everyone's screaming at me. So we just hung out there for a little bit, just relaxed. And I was like, well, I got to go to the front of the park because Hannah wants like a fountain video. And I was kind of thinking about you in that moment. I'm like, dang, Mike had to do this once where he had to like go to the front of the park.
Right.
Because I was asking the girls, like, you want to come with me? And they just like laughed at me. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, because it was busy. It wasn't like that busy, like wine and dine busy, but it felt really busy for COVID. This is the busiest I've seen Epcot ever since it's opened last summer.
Well, plus to get to the fountain where the fountain is now, you can't just go. I mean, like you used to just go right up the heart of Epcot. Now you're doing those like.
Dude, I was like zigzagging all over the place.
Exactly, dude, you could do 2 miles.
I think I did. I think I did a 5K. Like that's an unofficial 5K. The Japan, the fountain, with all the zigzagging. That's going to be a new course.
Oh wait, hang on. I hear everybody. Ketsura girl. There you go.
There it is.
Thank you, Google. I did hear everybody though. I heard everybody screaming at their phones.
Oh my God. Thank you everyone for shouting at us and giving us that answer. Yeah. So, I mean, basically I just wanted to park hop and get that thing for Hannah, but I would have wanted to do more and done more festival stuff. But again, I'm going in a couple weeks and I figure like maybe the parks would just be a little bit quieter. It won't be a holiday weekend. So I'll do more festival stuff then. But I will say, going back to football jerseys, so not the Patriots, the Buccaneers were playing the Saints, which you know how you're talking about the LSU gear, the Saints gear.
Fans just black and gold every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every once in a while. I mean, it's mostly purple and gold, but
yeah.
Dude, the number of Buccaneer jerseys was insane that day. Because I mean, Tampa's like right by there, you know? So like it was insane, like how many Buccaneer jerseys were in Epcot. Like when I was walking to the front, I could have counted at least like 75 jerseys, I feel like.
But see, here's the thing. If you're a true Bucs fan, and I wish I could be a Bucs fan. I'm still sour on the whole NFL because of the Rams leaving and all that stuff. But the Bucs had the best uniforms of all time, almost any sport, like the 70s Bucs. Now you need to wear one of those orange ones. And like, you know, when they had the helmet with the pirate on the side, like
I know what you're talking about. I love that. It's like that orangesicle, like creamsicle orange or whatever, you know? Like, oh my God.
It's like the Astros, like in the 80s. Those the whatever that was called. Football uniforms.
I did see like 1 or 2 of those, and maybe I saw the same guy twice, maybe, but I know I saw it a couple times.
It was that Super 70s sports guy on Twitter. That's who you saw.
Exactly.
All that account.
Yeah. So at that point, Mike, I just wanted to get out of Epcot. It was so crowded for what it just felt kind of crowded for considering that we're in a pandemic. You know what I mean? I know everyone's safe, like we're all wearing our masks, but I was like, you know, I just kind of want to get out of here. So we're able to find a Il Molino at the Dolphin, I believe. Dolphin Swan. I get those mixed up all the time.
You got 50-50.
I got 50-50 shot getting it. So I'll say Dolphin. And we went over there, had a nice meal. It was really slow paced. Both times we've been there, it's been kind of slow. It's kind of dark, but the food is really good and the portions are huge. So like between me, Elizabeth, and Emily, we just ordered 2 entrees and just kind of like did like our own little like family style meal with those entrees, you know, because it was plenty of food. And then we just went back, and honestly, man, you hear about this. Like, I guess we were kind of all over the place, but maybe it was my walking all over Epcot, but I was beat. Like, we got to the room. It was actually the Buccaneers were on that night. And like, I put the game on TV, and like my head hit the pillow, and boom, I was out.
Like, weekend complete.
Yeah. I did 6 attractions that weekend in 3 days, lots of bench sitting, and I was still whooped.
But I mean, you know what? It's kind of a good whooped, you know what I'm saying? Because we're just so trapped in our houses when we're back home right now that it just, you have, you do sit down and enjoy things, but I mean, you also just, it feels good to just be outside.
Fresh air.
Yeah.
It was fresh air, man. That fresh air is something I haven't had in a long time. And just seeing the palm trees. I talk about those old Key West palm trees all the time. Just walking around a resort.
Just make a fan site, dude. Just make a fan site for those palm trees because you're in love with them.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna leave you for some palm trees.
That's what I always tell Pam. Like, you know, if I could marry college football, Pam, I might, but we're good. We can't marry college football. So yeah. So okay. So we're getting a little long here, but okay. So let me ask you this, kind of wrap it up, because we'll be talking about your next trip here in a couple weeks when you're not going on the yacht. Now, again, given the circumstances, it sounds like you would do it again. I mean, even though it was a holiday weekend, the crowds were kind of high. I think it helps though to be somebody who goes more frequently than somebody who say, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to do this, right? If you don't go very often, nobody's gonna be like, we're going tomorrow if you don't usually go. But I mean, reflecting on it, 48, 72 hours since getting back. I mean, thoughts with the kind of closing out.
It was perfect. So I tell you, I had a weird moment, Mike, driving back to MCO. So the next morning we had breakfast at the boardwalk, just kind of took our time a little bit, kind of drove around property. I was like, all right, I guess we can start heading back to the airport. And I was feeling like, gosh, we're going to be here in 2 weeks. Am I getting burned out? Because I've been a lot going back to the summer. Like we had like the epic summer trip. Like, I don't know. I've been coming a lot. And I was like, man, am I feeling the burnout? Like, am I going to want to come back? And then we landed in Detroit and I saw all the snow. I saw the grayness. I was like, oh yeah, I know why I go to Florida all the time. It just makes me happy. It makes the heart happy. And it was so good for the soul, even though it was 3 days. It's not for everyone. Like you said though, Mike, it's not someone that goes once a year isn't going to book a trip the next day to go down for 3 days. It could have worked. The hours are fair. Like Magic Kingdom was open to 9 every night. Like
nice.
Those are the best hours I've seen in a while, Yeah. So it wasn't like the summer where they're closing like at 6. So, I mean, the hours were fair. You would have been able to get some stuff done, but it was just great to head down there, relax, sit on a bench, be like Dave, the bench guy, and just spend time with my friends and family, man. That's what it was all about.
That's it. I mean, like I said, you did 6 attractions in 3 days. And by a lot of metrics for folks that are looking for, okay, my value in a Disney vacation is X, Y, and Z. I have to do this, and this. But I mean, you got to realize in January, if you go quite often, 6 attractions over 3 days, if you get to have some nice meals, get to hang out and have, like you said, like a beer with friends, or, have a snow cone with your family, that kind of, with the festivals going on, just walk past, see the guy doing the sidewalk, art, and seeing some, listening to some music, stuff like, I mean, it's not quantifiable. And I think a weekend like this really proves that. It's not about numbers. It's more about just being in the moment for 72 hours and going home.
Exactly. Being in the moment. And I mentioned this earlier, like, I don't know the best way to describe it, but like, it's my park. You like if you have like a park at home that like you just like to go to, like you're not there to like ride a bunch of roller coasters or things like that. You just want to take a stroll through the park and sit on a bench and take in the sights and sounds. And that's exactly what we did this weekend. Got to hang out with Beth, who's in the chat. She's like one of our best friends now. She's awesome. So just got to talk and hang out. Like we do this too, Mike. Like we do this on trips. It's what like a Run Disney weekend is like. We don't do attractions. We just hang out and run.
All right. And I mean, they're the best trips. I mean, because I'll get home and I won't even realize it. Like, and then I'll reflect back, because I don't even think about it during the weekend. I'm like, okay, I've only ridden 2 rides, or I've only ridden 6 things. Like, I realize it like when I'm on the plane, going home, like, okay, what did I ride? But I'm like, I had a blast.
First time I've ever been down there and not done Space Mountain. This is the first time ever that I've not done Space Mountain on a trip. It's crazy.
Your back says thank you.
My back is but yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and that's kind of like, you get home and you start thinking like, oh my God, like I didn't do this and this and this and this and this. But as I know a lot of listeners of the show are, like you and me, Mike, like we're pass holders. We go often, and you know what? That's just something to put on the list for next time, right?
Yes, and I mean, you don't have to do it all. I mean, you can't do it all, but once you get, it's a mindset too. I mean, because my first few trips, if I wouldn't have done Space Mountain, I'd have been freaked out. Like I went down to Florida and didn't ride Space, or I didn't do this. And it's weird though, because it's the progression of your Disney trips, and you've turned into Walt Disney. You can just sit on a bench and watch people go by. Off the wall.
Are they gonna get like a hashtag Scotty G like light for me to leave on?
Yeah, but they might do that. Scott Gardner is on property right now, so the stoplight is.
They'll find a way to put it like in one of the palm trees at Old Key West.
Yeah, the third palm tree on your left is lit up, Scott, at Old Key West. That's it.
And I know we're long and we're wrapping up, but like, so part of this too was like, if we're going to go to Ohio or Indiana for a meal, because that's how it all started, right? Kind of like wrap up the show. And then we went to Florida. Like we would have had to, put some miles on the car. We would have had to get a hotel room. We had, maybe we would have stayed 2 nights, in this case, I used my DVC points. We didn't have to pay for that cost there. Like I was trying to like make it like make sense in my head, because we had an annual pass. So basically it was like the airfare was the big thing, was the only difference. And that was totally worth the difference to hang out with friends, hang out at our happy place, and see some palm trees. It was worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we call Disney math right there. Could have gone to Indiana, had to have a meal at the boathouse. Just saying.
Yep.
That's how it works.
It's so crazy, man.
All right. Well, Scott, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. And love having you on the show. We're going to have a lot of you here in 21. I have a feeling whenever Ricky and Pam are out and that happens, we'll hang out on the Wednesday and Friday shows. That's always a blast. So thanks, bud.
Well, I hope I'm not too much, and I hope that you're willing to ask me because I love being on the show.
I love it. Okay, we are going to get out of here. Sorry, they always go long when I talk to Scott. That's just how it is. That's how we do. So, got to talk about all this stuff. But don't forget, today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Pam Forrester approves of Scott Gardner type trips. I can tell you, we've talked. If you want to, have somebody help you book your next trip, I'd love to help you out. Just go by themagicforless.com. Fill out that quote form while you're there. Great trip planning tools on the site. You can see resort guides. Those are awesome. I just like looking at those sometimes when I'm missing Walt Disney World. But while you're there, fill out the quote form, mention the show, and it'll come directly to me. We'll be planning a great trip together. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Also, please use our Amazon affiliate link, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. It's a free way to support the show, and even the small stuff does help. So again, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a huge shout out to our patrons. You guys are awesome. You're carrying the show here while travel is still down just a little bit. I appreciate you guys so much. If you'd like to get in on that, just visit patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give us a follow on the social media, Instagram and Twitter at beourguestmike, at beourguestpod. And check out Scott. He's over at Epscot, EPSCOT. So check him out. And also, you look for hashtag Scotty G. But every once in a while, somebody else could hop in on that one. I don't know. He doesn't own that, but pretty much, I'd say 90%. Also, let's see. We got our Facebook and YouTube channels. So just search for the Be Our Guest podcast there. Subscribe. You'll know when we go live. We record these shows all the time on the video. You can check that out as we hang out with our listeners live in the chat. Always so much fun. Thanks to everybody who was here with us this evening as we recorded. And also, don't forget, this Sunday night, every Sunday night, we record live. Take your calls. It's your chance to be on the show immediately. Give some instant feedback. It's every Sunday night on Facebook and YouTube. Just search for the Be Our Guest podcast at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Don't have to fight against football right now. Kind of nice. Well, two more weekends. But, we'll do it. Maybe we'll take off. Should we take off Super Bowl weekend? I think we probably should. And maybe do it a different night that week.
I think you're going to be in Florida with me, though, Super Bowl weekend, right?
Well,
you're trying to make that happen?
I am trying. Yes. Cheerleading is them going to nationals is a blessing and a curse. So, yeah. Well, yeah. And you can subscribe to our TikToks, which we don't have yet, but we do have Reels.
Get a TikTok going, Mike.
We're pretty good at Reels, though. I got to say, because Reels is the Instagram version of TikTok, and it's like for the older generation, I think, and we're not bad. And I'm not good either, but we're not bad. So check that out as well on our Instagrams. Okay, we're out of here. So until we talk again on Wednesday with more listener questions, for Scott, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Time to head back to work, and we'll see you real soon.
Awesome.
That is so
I don't know if Joe is still in the chat or not, but Joe, I was talking about you on Facebook the other day. There was a thread about who was the first lizard you ever met in real life. And Joe, that was you, man. You came up to me at the Everest, the final Everest, and you said, "Hey, man, nice shirt." And
was Joe the person who won Everest?
No, Georgia won Everest.
Okay, yeah, because Georgia and Joe's in.
So Georgia won the race that weekend, but Joe, that was the weekend I met Joe. It was my first Disney race, and he came up to me, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, see, Joe's in like that tier of the fast people.
Yeah, Joe could probably win that race if he wanted to.
I'm a holder honor. I just want to, I'm pretty confident I'll finish, but I'm not teasing myself. When those guys go fast, I'm like, have fun. I'll see you at the end. Doing
that. We did talk about driving to St. Louis too, but then the girls were gone,
I know, they were totally gone. And then they have 2 more competitions before Summit. But the problem is, I stepped on my cord. One is supposed to be in Schaumburg. Well, actually, the one they did in the Wisconsin Dells, I think about 2 months ago now. That was supposed to be in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is always a good one because there's a mall across the street from the hotel. It's got all these good places to eat. And it's a good one to watch. But that Illinois shut down, so they moved it to Wisconsin. And I think they're doing that again in a week or 2. And then there's one more. There's supposed to be one in St. Louis, but I don't know. The thing is, we just don't know. They don't tell you until, I didn't think they do the Indianapolis one. Dude, that had 10,000 people. 10,000.
Crazy.
At the Indiana Convention Center. It's where they're going to do it's where they play the Final Four.
Yeah.
And it's attached to the football stadium.
Wow, that's nuts, man.
And I kept thinking it would get canceled. I'm like, there's no way they're going to have 10,000 cheerleaders. And they did. They had social distancing, but how do you social distance 10,000 teenage girls, right? I don't even. That's why I did. I was like, dude, I'm not going. Like,
Yeah, even if it's not a Florida trip, man, we should probably meet somewhere, or maybe we come out to St. Louis or something. I can bring the Stratomat.
yes, or we should go like to Santa Claus, Indiana, or something like that. Oh, there's places I want to go to. Actually, the
Figure it out.
place to was called. Well, I told you about that place they went to in the Dells, and you said there's one in Ohio. What was that? Like a Winneconda or something? Where
It's like
Waikiki or
it's
something?
in Sandusky. It's like where Cedar Point is. It's Kalahari or something like that.
That was it. Dude, they love that place. But they were just there to cheer, so they didn't get to do any like the fun stuff. Like, we got to go there with the gardeners because they close to you.
We haven't seen Pam since the cruise in 2019. I don't think.
Pam has not seen Galaxy's Edge. She has not seen the Skyliner. She's not seen you guys. She hasn't seen nothing. I mean, we gotta get back down there. We're gonna go this summer. We just gotta figure out when. Everything's such a mess.
I'm sure we can
we'll figure it out.
Align with you.
We need to meet up though. Yeah. Once it's I think cheer. I gotta ask. She's at cheer right now. It's 4 hours tonight, so I don't know. We'll figure it out though, because the thing is, they can't miss any practices, or if they do, they can't cheer in the next competition, and then that's a big old hassle because you can't just pull like Mallory's she's a base, and so you can't just pull like a base out, like oh well, we're just getting her out. That's
I totally get it.
I thought because Paige played select soccer and that was intense. This is nothing compared to cheerleading. Oh
yeah,
we said I don't have to
crazy.
I coached that. So. Well, okay. We'll tell the girls we said hey, and we'll figure something out.
Thanks for having me on, man. I always love talking Disney with you.
Absolutely. Talk to you later, bud.